Hey everybody, this is K-Bess, and I play Anna in Lara Croft Rise of the Tomb Raider. You're listening to The Gaming Outsider.
Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 274 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, December 9th. I'm your host, Scott Clark. I'm joined, as always, by my fellow co-hosts. First off, a guy who was cursing my name today with the topic we're going to be talking about, Mr. Zack Parkerson.
Yeah, why'd you have to pick the hardest topic in the world?
I thought I wanted to be fun, man. Everybody else was doing top 10 of the decade, which just seemed too easy. So we're going to do top 5.
I like how 10 games, I mean, out of probably, 10,000 options was too easy for you?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more interesting, wanted to make it a little bit more difficult. And it was.
It's very Jeff Keighley of you.
Well, I also feel like your list is going to be, at least 60% of it, we all know what it's going to be. At least I have to assume. But
yeah, I mean, maybe.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. Also joining us, a guy who is the proud owner of a brand new microphone, Mr. Chris Behrensmeyer. What's up, man?
Yeah, I got a new mic finally. So thank you. So
I can't wait to hear the recording because, we obviously can't hear what the listeners hear, but just from doing this, you sound fantastic. You sound a lot better.
Well, I'm glad that I'm making a lot less work for our producer. So
yes. And Merry Early Christmas.
Thank you.
Oh, it was a gift.
Yes. Nate and I actually split it and bought it for him.
Wow.
I think Nate's exact words were it was just as much a gift for him as it was for CB because it makes his job a lot easier to have a better mic.
He was tired of having the hot mic all the time.
Well, you're such a hot guy when you come in on the mic. You know what I'm saying? It can't be helped.
It's the beard.
That ginger in him.
The beard. Did you guys see the trailer for this movie Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds? Did either of you get a chance?
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, it looked pretty bad.
Think it looks pretty bad?
Yeah, I do. Why?
I think it looks fun. It feels like it's so tongue in cheek. I don't know. I mean, that's what they're going for, I guess. But I'll see it. It's we're not getting like a ton of video game movies these days, but I don't know.
To me, it seems like it's in the Pixels camp of where we still don't really get the video game thing.
I liked Pixels though.
Oh,
to me, it's like you took the Gerard Butler movie Gamer and smashed Pixels into it.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. I don't like the movies where it's what if video games were realer. Like, I want video game movies that are based on the stories of video games, like a Metal Gear Solid movie.
I'm with you. I'm with you, but they just keep proving to us that they can't do it. I mean, the best one we got in recent memory was Tomb Raider, which was good. And we're getting a sequel. But outside of that, what else has there been? We're getting Uncharted. But
no, we're not.
They cast Mark Wahlberg as Sully. It's happening.
Yeah, the movie took so long to make that Nathan Drake is now playing Sully.
Right? I don't know. I'm with you, though, Zach. I would rather have, original stories based on the original properties. But we get what we get, I guess. But Pixels was fun. It was dumb fun. But it did try a little bit too hard.
If you say so.
Mortal Kombat Legacy.
Well, wait. Was it Legacy or was it Annihilation?
No. Legacy was the one that started out as like a YouTube series.
Yeah, that thing was solid.
Yeah, that was really good.
I heard they're making another one that's supposed to be as gory as the games. Like they're making a legit R-rated Mortal Kombat, not a PG-13 one like they did back in the 90s.
If it's in the same thread as Legacy was, then it has a lot of hope.
Here's hoping, man. That would be a fun one. And I know it sounds weird, but I'm actually genuinely interested in the lore behind Mortal Kombat because I don't know anything about it. All I know is like this tournament that this one dude puts on, and that's all I know. But I'm kind of interested to know that story a little bit more. I don't know if I got that from the 90s movie.
You had to read all the between fights title cards in the original arcade machines.
Did you? Okay. I did not do that. I was terrible at Mortal Kombat.
Why would anybody do that?
I did.
In an arcade? Don't put your quarter in yet. I got to read this.
Yeah. Hey, man, hold on. I just learned Scorpion's backstory. Don't ruin this for me.
Oh, man. Well, we got a lot of news to talk to, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. First off, this story was kind of interesting. The big question on the docket right now is whether or not Control is going to be coming to Xbox GamePass, because Phil Spencer was on an Extra Life stream this week, and he said, and I quote, "I thought Control was really good. It didn't reach enough people, so I'm glad to see that it's coming into Game Pass so that more people will play it," unquote. But when asked about the possibility, Remedy responded with, and I quote, "The information about Control coming to Xbox Game Pass as reported on a recent Mixer stream is incorrect. We have no news or announcements regarding Xbox Game Pass at this time," unquote. So what exactly is going on here? Any ideas?
Well, isn't Quantum Break already on Game Pass?
Is it?
I would think so. It was a first-party game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that makes sense for it to be on Game Pass.
So I could see it coming to Game Pass, and dear God, I hope it does, because that's a game that I think everyone should play.
I agree. I'm very confused by this mixed message. You know, I mean, if anybody's going to know, it's going to be Phil Spencer. But if anybody would know better, it would be Remedy.
It seems like a PR snafu.
You think they're doing it?
I think it is coming. I think it is coming into Game Pass. I think Phil Spencer just spoke too soon, and I would assume Remedy was upset about that because you're heading into the holiday season where you could get a lot of sales.
That's a good point.
And by Phil Spencer going like, "Oh, it's coming to Game Pass," and you've taken all the wind out of. If you've already bought it for somebody, you're like, "Well, I'll just return it because it's coming to Game Pass."
Right. I didn't think about that. That's a really good point.
Maybe Remedy wanted to make the announcement.
Well, I mean, sure, but I think Zach's point is a little bit more makes more sense. They don't want to cut into the sales of the games at the busiest time of year for sales of games, right?
Yeah, I could see that, and I do agree with it.
But I guess we're gonna have to wait and see what happens on that one. I just thought it was so strange that one side is saying one thing and one side is saying the complete opposite. I really want to know the true story about that and about what happened.
Well, I think I just gave it to you, man. Come on.
I think you did too.
It's not that it's the complete opposite. They just says they have no news or announcements about it. They're not saying that it's not coming.
Please buy our game. It didn't even chart when it came out.
Yeah, they definitely want people to buy it. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I think you're right, Zach. Although, you're the king of we don't speak on speculation, and that's I mean, that's what we're talking about it for, right? So,
well, yeah, this is very speculative. Speculation is fine. It's the rumor mongering I'm not into.
Yeah, I hope you're right, and I hope it's coming because I think more people will play it that way. I mean, look how many people played The Outer Worlds that probably wouldn't have played it if they had to pay $60 for it. And
it's just such a good game, Control.
I agree. There's a lot of people in our community that disagree with you, though. I don't know if you've been watching our Discord. A couple people have given it up. One got stuck on a boss that they just said they couldn't pass even after watching YouTube videos for it, and somebody else just didn't care after a while.
People don't like it?
Yeah.
Those people are wrong, man.
And I believe the comment was made, well, Zach really liked it a lot, and the response was, well, I don't care what Zach thinks.
Well, I respect that.
Shots.
That's an acceptable answer.
Shots fired.
Well, I enjoyed it, not as much as these two guys. I did like it quite a bit, but I wasn't as in love as you guys. But it had its moments that were definitely worth playing through.
It's just a shame that map sucked.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what cracks me up is, I think we talked about this last week, is that people are complaining or saying that the map was really good in Control, but complaining about the map in Fallen Order, which doesn't make any sense to me. The map worked great. It just needed a fast travel. And I would have liked that a lot better. Just to get back to the ship, anyway. Anyway, we're getting off course here. Also, Nintendo has some news. which is in the form of some new games coming to the Nintendo Online service. For the Super Nintendo side, we're getting Super Punch-Out, Star Fox 2, which was originally only released on the SNES Classic, Kirby Superstar, and Breath of Fire 2. And we're also getting some original Nintendo games, including Journey to Silius and Crystallis, or is it Crystallis? I want to say Crystallis. And all of those will be available on December 12th. Any of those trip your trigger?
Star Fox 2, I guess, would be cool to check out, but nothing's lighting a fire under my rear end or anything.
Not even a Breath of Fire?
See what you did there.
Come on, hashtag dad joke.
That's cute, man. No, I like it. That was good.
Super Punch-Out is a great Super Nintendo game. That is actually probably better than the original Punch-Out. It's just that I feel like more people played the original than that one. It was a really good game, if you like that sort of stuff. Star Fox 2, I played a little bit on SNES Classic. I didn't really feel like I needed to play it again, but I don't know. Maybe I will.
It's such an interesting curiosity that I want to check it out, and I sure did get a SNES Classic, so.
And I've legit not played either Journey to Silius or Crystallis. Have you, CB?
Journey to Silius I have a couple times. Crystallis I haven't touched as far as I remember. But man, the only news about this that really kind of disappoints me is the only reason to like absolutely go out and pick up a SNES Classic now. You don't need to, because Star Fox 2 is not going to be on the Switch.
Yeah, is there anything on the SNES Classic that's not on the Nintendo Online service at this point?
Man, I'm not sure, but like that was the one thing that made the SNES Classic stand out, was the fact that it had an unreleased game on it. Well, unreleased in the US game. So,
gotcha. I don't know. I still like my. I mean, you got to pay a monthly service to do the online. So, actually, it's a yearly service, isn't it?
Is that $20 a year?
$20 a year.
$20 a year.
That's pretty affordable.
Cheap. That's very affordable. You could get 3. It would cost you 3 of those to get one SNES Classic. Do the math.
Yeah.
Anyway,
do the math, guys. Do the math.
I may just have to. Super Punch Out is a lot of fun. I would like to go back and play that one. Actually, I remember playing that one in college on an emulator back in '98, and just had a blast with that. The King Hippo in that version is real tough until you know the trick, obviously. But anyway, the big news of the week actually happened today as of this recording. A new Bioshock game has been confirmed by 2K. It is a new development studio that has been announced called Cloud Chamber. Ken Levine will not be involved in this one, however. The new team will be comprised of some of the team members from the original games, and we have absolutely no other details other than it exists. How hard are your nipples there, CB?
I'm excited, probably not nearly as excited as you are.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I mean, I'm curious to see where they're going to take it after the ending of Infinite. But
yeah,
I've been saying for a while, like, I like the fact that we had Bioshock underwater and then Bioshock in the air. So maybe they could do something along those lines, like Bioshock on the moon.
Why not? Yeah, I like it.
The logical next step feels like Bioshock in space.
Yeah.
Dear God, there better be a Wheatley reference.
Well, I hope they go that route instead of capitalizing on the ending of Bioshock Infinite. And I know that game's old, but I'm skirting around what happens at the end there, because I like that game ended that way, and I want them just to go someplace new.
Yeah, I would just not touch anything that happened in the other Bioshocks, personally.
Yeah, just do your own thing, like you did when we were all a little worried when we went from Rapture to what was even the name of the city?
Columbia,
thank you. But I thought that worked out really well. I know you didn't like the ending nearly as much, but man, going on rails was pretty fun in Bioshock Infinite.
Oh, I like the ending.
Oh, come on.
Oh, you did like the ending?
Yeah, I just didn't like most of the way to get there. That's all.
Gotcha.
This time you're going to get to be a big sister.
Sounds hot.
Actually, I think it'd be kind of fun to play as one of the little girls.
Well, you do in Bioshock 2.
Oh, no, whole game. Just
the whole game you play as one of the little sisters?
Well, the beginning, like before they become the little sister, then you become the little sister, and then like take it that way.
So you actually want to go back to Rapture? Is what you're saying?
No, just give me little girls in space.
CB just wants little girls.
Wow. This took a dark turn.
In space. You took it there, man. Don't be weird.
Yeah. Zach knew where I was going with this.
Well, what other possibilities could they do besides space that would be something original? I mean, in the clouds, underwater?
Bioshock in a volcano?
Underground, deep underground.
Oh, there you go. I could see that being like an underground civilization.
Bioshock meets Journey to the Center of the Earth.
That's not a bad idea.
You get Brendan Fraser. He's not doing anything.
Other than eating donuts.
Wow.
Shots fired at Brendan Fraser, man.
I like Brendan Fraser. I miss Brendan Fraser. I always thought he was charming in his movies.
So great in The Mummy, that guy.
Yes, he was. He was perfectly cast.
He is literally a blast from the past.
Oh, man. Now who's got the dad jokes? They're supposed to be mine, man.
Was he in a movie called Blast from the Past?
Yes.
He is in a movie called Blast from the Past with Alicia Silverstone.
Oh.
Also a face that has not graced the silver screen in a while.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There's
more reasons for that.
There's your big daddy and little sister.
Also, Christopher Walken was in that movie, and Sissy Spacek.
Yeah. So
I actually kind of like that movie.
I don't even know what movie we're talking about. I'm too young.
Moving on. A couple of remasters that were announced this week. The original Bayonetta and Vanquish are coming in a bundle called Bayonetta and Vanquish 10th Anniversary Bundle. First off, those games are 10 years old. That makes me feel old. They're going to be releasing on both PS4 and Xbox One on February 18th, 2020. You guys have any interest in diving back into either of those games?
Vanquish.
Yeah, definitely Vanquish. I replayed Bayonetta on the Switch. It's still a good game, holds up, but Vanquish is just, what a unique game.
I tried so hard to get into Vanquish and just could not get it to click for some reason at launch. So I would be interested in giving it another shot because everyone just raves about that game. That's the one where like you have like a thrust mechanic where you slide forward, like a powered slide forward or something like that. Am I remembering correctly?
Yes.
And everyone just raved about it, and it just didn't work for me for some reason. So I need to give that one another shot.
Well, it will be remastered, so you'll have a perfect chance to.
It'll come in a steelbook, a nice little pretty steelbook for you.
Ooh.
Yeah, but they're all coming in the steelbook, so it's not like it's special. You know, it's not like a limited quantity, so CB's not getting his collector juices flowing.
I bet he'll still get it.
Well, yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know if Bayonetta is going to be like enough to push me over the top. If I could buy just Vanquish digitally, yeah, I'm all right.
Well, what if we split it, and I play it first, and then you keep the physical copy when we're done?
Sounds good.
That works, right?
Yeah.
And then we both win.
Welcome to Gaming Outsider, where deals are made.
I got one last story I want to mention that actually dropped like right before we started recording tonight. I know, Zach, you are not a big sports game fan, and a lot of our listeners aren't, but I thought this was huge news because, as we all know, MLB The Show has been exclusively on PlayStation for quite a while now, and it was announced today that the contract is coming to an end, but the Major League Baseball has upped the deal, but they have passed that on to including other platform consoles, so it's not going to be just exclusive to PS4, which means we should be getting it on, at the very least, Xbox One and Switch, because shortly after the announcement, both Nintendo and Xbox posted on Twitters, and I think Nintendo just posted an emoji of a baseball, so they're in, and then Xbox said something about no longer warm in the seats, or I can't remember what the quote was, but this gets me really excited because I genuinely do like the MLB The Show series, but would always have preferred to play it on Xbox. Am I alone in this excitement?
No, you're not. Thank God that atrocity of a deal is finally over, because there hasn't been a Major League like officially sponsored game since 2005.
Yeah, and that was the 2K series, right?
No, that was MVP baseball.
Oh, geez. When was the last 2K game?
I think it was like 2K2.
No way. It wasn't that old.
No, 2K11.
It's like 2K12 because they had a contest. I remember.
I thought it was 2K11 was the last one.
I mean, it could be 2K11.
2K11. I forgot about the 2K series. 2K11 is the last one that I have on 360. But for me, the last good one was like MVP 2005. But,
I remember playing 2K12, I believe, and I think I remember liking the pitching system better in that than I did the show, actually. But the rest of the game in the show I always preferred.
Yeah.
So I could get past it.
So I just like the soundtrack from MVP 2005. Like, it was really, really good.
I don't remember. I couldn't tell you the soundtrack or any songs that were on any sports games I played.
It had Stereogram, Walkie Talkie Man, Chronic Future was on there. It was in that same like time frame that like the Tony Hawk games like had just amazing soundtracks.
Yeah. Well, this is huge news for sports fans because, man, how long it's been so long that's just been exclusive to PS4. I'm beyond excited, and I know that's a lot. That's big news for sports fans.
Well, MLB The Show has been a Sony exclusive since 1998.
Wow. So does this mean that we're going to get MLB The Show, or is there going to just be? Are we going to bring back the 2K series? Or is there going to be another new game?
I could honestly see Sony just making MLB The Show and then it just getting ported over. Because
that would make the most sense.
The game is about as good as it's going to get. Why completely rebuild a dead franchise like the 2K series at this point in time when you already have a game that's really good?
Mm-hmm.
But the show is internally developed at Sony, right? With Sony San Diego?
Yes.
So what is there?
I wonder if that's part of the deal, though, that Sony gets to keep making the game. However, now it has to be ported to other consoles if they want to keep the exclusivity rights.
I mean, that's more money for them, too. It's not like the other platforms are going to get all that revenue. They still have to sell it off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the inner workings and how much is passed over and whatnot, but it's not going to hurt them.
What a weird new world we're in.
Yeah.
You got Minecraft being made by Xbox and it's on PlayStation.
Hey, on top of that, what a perfect thing for crossplay.
That's a good point.
Sure.
That was a big thing is I didn't know a lot of people that played MLB The Show. And I'm not like a hardcore MLB The Show guy. I just like to play at the beginning of every summer just to see what was new. And I have a buddy of mine that doesn't play a ton of games, but that's one that he does. And we always rented it every summer and just played it over the weekend against each other. And it was a lot of fun. And that was about the extent of it. But it would have been fun to play online with somebody. And I never, I didn't really know too many people that played it. Or if they did, we just couldn't get our schedules to match up. So I don't know. I'm excited, and I know CB is a baseball guy. So if we get it, I'd actually have somebody to play with automatically. So that's for those of you that aren't big sports game guys. That's a big deal in the sports world. I mean, imagine if Madden were only available on Xbox, and all of a sudden all it became available on Xbox and PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. That's how big a deal that would be for baseball fans. So. Well, that's the week's news. We got to say a shout out to our patrons very quickly. You guys are the reasons that we are able to do this show each week. We really do appreciate the support. Our available episodes. CB, you haven't been here in a week. Well, what do you got going on there?
Well, we did recently have our Tron movie, like Tron Legacy episode, where Nate was introduced to the franchise. And then we also had our spoiler cast of Control with you, Zack, and myself. Still working on that Glee episode. I promise. Now that I'm back from vacation, I'm making that a priority and working on a few other things. So hopefully we'll have some announcements later this week on some December episodes.
Yes, for sure. I'm actually really excited to talk about Glee because I do like that show. But keep in mind that if you subscribe to our Patreon, you get access to not only the episodes that CB just mentioned, but all of our past ones as well. We got a lot of good content that is perennial, as it were. It's not really time sensitive. So we've got all of our Break the Seal episodes, all of our Legacy episodes, all of our Games That Aren't For Us episodes. We got to do one of those. I feel like we haven't done one of those in a while.
Oh, it's been a hot minute.
So we're going to get on those again, but you can listen to everything that we've ever recorded since starting doing Patreon, and it only costs you $3 a month over at patreon.com/thegocast. It helps us out a great deal, and we really do appreciate all the support. With that, we're going to go ahead and jump into our From the Outside In topic. We are close to wrapping up the year, but it's also the end of a full decade of gaming goodness. We have our Game of the Year episode coming in January, but we figured it would be a good time to look back on the past 10 years of games and try to narrow it down to our top 5. It's definitely no easy task, but we're going to give it our best shot. So, you guys, before we talked about what the listeners' picks were, what were your 5 favorite games of 2010 between 2010 and 2019? You have to narrow it down to 5 games. Zach, you go first, and here's where we find out if CB and I were right or not.
Yeah, that's a really brutal topic again that you picked. Let me tell you, I was having an existential crisis for several days, trying to decide what the best games were. I eventually had to. I found like an old Tumblr site where people were trying to figure out their Homestuck favorite characters.
Uh-huh.
And I rejiggered the HTML to put all my favorite games in there, and then rapid fire answer them to see which ones came out on top.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, because when I just kept thinking about it, that's a lot. That's a big list of time, man.
Yeah, it is. I really wish I had that link now so I could go back and do that myself. But
it might be fun. I'm thinking about this as a future topic, by the way, where I give you this thing and you guys all pick between all your favorite games.
I think it would be fun to kind of do that as each week we have like 5 or 6 of them that we bring up. Like, are they like matchups or something like that?
Yeah. So what it does is you put in all the entries, and then it will randomly match everything up against everything else over time.
Right.
So, I put like 70 games in there, and it had like 480 matchups or something like that. Because it's
wouldn't that be fun to do, though? Like on the show, like between the 3 of us or whoever's on the show, we have, if we have an odd number, like we almost always do, we all vote on it, and whichever one gets 2 out of 3 votes or more, that gets the vote. And then we just do that every week. And then we just kind of, and then at the end of a year, we see where everything lands.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be super fun.
Yeah, you have just a brief little thing at the end. It's like the matchup.
Yeah.
Here we are, spitballing ideas live on the show.
I know. But you did that for this.
Yes, and it was extensive, and it took a long time because I'm committed to this show, and I wanted the right answers.
Okay. So what's your number 5?
All right. So this is my pure instinct responses. Number 5 was Nier Automata.
All right, that's one of our 3 that we guessed.
Absolutely. Number 4 was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
All right. The best game you've ever played is number 4. That makes sense.
Well, not according to this list, huh? Number 3 was Splinter Cell Conviction.
Ooh, okay.
Number 2, Nier, the first one.
All right.
And number 1, Batman Arkham City.
I am shocked that there is no Spider-Man PS4 on there.
That was number 7.
Wow.
This is just me doing the quiz thing, so I don't know what that means. But
see, the funny thing is, originally I was just like, I bet Batman is going to make the list, and I immediately went back to Arkham Asylum, and I'm like, wait a second, that was 2009.
You're right. Arkham City is the superior game.
Yeah, he likes City better. I didn't remember that.
Which I know is it seems to be becoming an unpopular opinion with time.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just giving you the critical discourse.
Oh, okay.
Seems to be favoring Arkham Asylum. So yeah, I guess for me, Arkham City. I mean, I have platinumed the game twice.
I'm really curious.
I 1000'd it on 360.
I'm curious how your game that you called the best video game you've ever played made it to number 4. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Recency bias?
Is that what it is?
I would guess.
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I could see that.
All right, CB.
Look, man, we can all regret words, okay? That's why. That's why I had to do this whole freaking Tumblr thing, is because I was like looking at the list and I was like, yeah, look, I love Fallen Order, but like, oh man, it's hard to commit to it. Number one, like, man, I've Arkham City has got to be one of the games I've put the most amount of time into in my entire life. Like, what does that mean? So I did this freaking quiz.
So the number one game of the past 10 years was Arkham City.
Right.
Batman Arkham City. All right.
It's a crime.
CB.
That's a crime?
What?
That's such a game with all the Riddler trophies and everything.
No,
so fun.
I did like that one better than Arkham Knight, so
I also love Asylum.
better than
Don't get me
Origins.
wrong. I also love Origins, so who am I? Knight sucked.
Yeah. So
I like Knight.
So, all right, well, moving on to me. Coming in at number 5, The Wolf Among Us.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow,
Okay.
nice choice, yeah.
I wasn't expecting a Telltale game to make a top 5 of the decade.
Agreed.
But for me, that had one of the best stories.
It did.
Yeah.
And
His lips are
I'm-
sealed.
And you know me, I'm a very story-driven person. Number 4, Firewatch.
Wow.
Story
You
driven
like that game
again.
that much, huh?
I really do.
Okay.
It's because he also has a crush on Sissy Jones.
I'm not gonna lie. Number 3, Alien Isolation.
I should have seen that one coming.
Yeah, that checks out.
So, well, I mean, that's my jam, man.
I'm saying.
Number 2, Spider-Man.
Okay.
Great choice.
And number 1, Portal 2.
Wow.
Okay.
So,
Well,
I
you know what's interesting, CB, is that I don't know if you guys cheated and looked at my list, but between the three of us, we're only going to have one game in common. Between all three of us, only one game is in common.
Well,
I think that's fascinating.
I don't think not with me, eh?
Well, no, you like I'm not going to say unknown or weird games because they're not, but
Yeah.
I will say I did cheat a little over the fact that you have a couple honorable mentions.
oh yeah, I did put some honorable mentions.
Well, you
but-
can't say them. You restricted us to 5, man.
Yeah, I know.
So-
You're right. I won't mention my honorable mentions then if we were sticking to 5.
I mean, if you want to, before we move on, one of your honorable mentions I think needs to be discussed, but continue.
Okay.
Well, I will say one of my honorable mentions would make Zack proud. So,
Is it?
Well, let's get through
Is
the
it
list
Batman?
first, and then we'll talk about honorable mentions. How about
okay,
that?
you get through yours, and then we will each throw one honorable mention. How about that?
Okay, that works.
Got it.
All right, so my number 5 pick is a weird one. I fully admit it, but the Pinball FX2 and Pinball FX3 both came out in 2010.
Not surprised.
That's the most
Well-
Scott Clark choice that I could imagine.
Oh man,
I'm surprised it's on number 1.
Seriously, if you were to like actually just do this by sheer number of hours spent in a game, I can't. The only games that would come close to putting the amount of hours I put into Pinball FX 2 and 3 would be like Diablo 3 or Fallout 3.
Binding of Isaac.
Binding of Isaac's up there too, but I don't think it's near.
I don't
is
think
up there.
Fallout 3 was that a 2009 game or 2008 game, so it's not even that decade.
Yeah, I actually was gonna. I went up. I had to look up the date on that one, and yeah, you're right. It was 2008. So Fallout 3 did not make my pick, and I liked Fallout 3 way more than 4.
Well, there was actually
So
it was really hard because there was actually 3 Fallout games that came out this decade. So
Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas,
actually
and
4. There was 4.
76 and Shelter.
76
And Shelter.
and Shelter. Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm a little disappointed that none of those made my list.
I think a lot of people are. My number 4 pick is Horizon Zero Dawn, which I am shocked did not make anybody's top 5, but I'm saying it.
Horizon
I
Zero
have
Dawn
ne-
would not make my top 100.
Seriously?
I just want to just lay that out there.
It's a top 10 for my decade, but
Oh man,
not a top
There
5.
is not a game that gripped me in terms of what was going to happen next, and just feeling like I was watching a world through the eyes of a character more than Horizon Zero Dawn did for me.
Man,
It just-
every character spoke so stiltedly in that game. Their facial animations were non-existent as well. I don't know. I could not.
I guess I would have to replay it. I did not have a problem with it, but
I enjoyed the story and the lore, but I could not get behind the characters really.
Spider-Man made me cry. Horizon Zero Dawn didn't.
Yeah.
Well,
But
sure.
Then there were some fun surprises in Spider-Man 2, but I just remember being genuinely blown away by the end of Horizon Zero Dawn. I just was like, this is happening. It was great. So that
And
was
they
my
only
number
had to
4.
sit through 3 hours of audio logs to get there.
That's true. But it didn't feel like 3 hours. It wasn't like a Kojima game.
Oh.
Yeah, I said it.
Don't worry, he'll get mentioned later.
My number 3 is Final Fantasy 15. My favorite game of that year. I haven't really loved a Final Fantasy game since Final Fantasy 8 prior to that. And everything about that game outside of the fishing, I thought was fantastic. And I'm not a big fan of fishing, but I love the story. It felt like a Final Fantasy game that actually ended in a good way. I felt like most of the other Final Fantasy games I played either ended on a down note or just it wasn't satisfying. It ended abruptly or something. 15 had a finality to it. Then I really loved it, and everything about that game I loved. The music. I even just loved driving around listening to tunes from the previous games. It was great. So
It made me cry.
Road trip.
that ending was beautiful.
What can I
So
say?
good.
You guys are the
My
best.
number 2 is Dead Space 2.
Yep.
That is the best game in the series, and one of the few games that I've replayed and gotten all of the achievements and still kept replaying it because there were so many moments in that game that just were very memorable and fun to play, and it felt like a challenging game that I was still good at. You know me, I don't usually play games on harder levels of difficulty, and you had to play that game on harder levels of difficulty to get all the achievements, and I did it. And I was proud of it. And you had to do it with only saving, I think you had to beat it with only saving 3 times or something like that.
Yes.
And I
remember that.
actually pulled it off. And I was very, very proud of that. So, Dead Space 2. And my number 1, the one that we have in common, CB, Portal 2 was my number 1 game in the past decade.
I guess
'Cause
that automatically makes it the Gaming Outsiders game of the decade.
I mean, it's kind of hard to top if it's the only one that we have in common.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Gaming Outsider game of the decade is Portal 2.
Hey, I thought that
And-
game was pretty okay.
I almost said it. I didn't say it.
I almost fired it off too.
Yeah. I
What?
pulled it back.
Oh man, what were we gonna say?
The phrase that cannot be uttered on this podcast anymore. Really? You can't think
Oh,
about it?
okay, I get it.
Yeah,
there you
yeah.
go. Anyway,
Okay.
those are our top lists. What about our honorable mentions, CB?
Oh no,
You
we're going bottom to top. You start first.
Oh, okay.
Well,
All right.
Okay.
Well, I'll mention my first one because I know you want to mention my second one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Anyway, continue.
So my honorable mention is Skyrim, and Skyrim would have made my list, except I didn't feel right putting it on my list because I didn't finish it. That was kind of a rule I had with my list, is I could not call it the best game of the decade if I didn't like it enough to finish it. And in this case, I didn't finish Skyrim, not because I wasn't enjoying it, but just because I got lost in that world. And by the time it came around to finishing the story, I didn't know where the story was anymore, and I just kind of forgot. So I absolutely love that game. Just exploring it and doing all the side stuff was so interesting. It was a game where I felt like I could just get lost in just exploring and discovering new things, and loved it. So if I had beat that game, I think it would have nudged something off of the top 5. And that brings us back to CB.
Red Dead Redemption.
I was expecting that to be on somebody's top 5, even though
Not 2, just 1.
just 1. All right.
Yeah, definitely not 2.
Yeah. Nope.
And Zach, what's your honorable mention?
I'll honorably mention Tomb Raider, the first reboot.
Okay.
That's a pretty tremendous game. I like it a lot. It means a lot to me. Talked about it on the show once.
Yes.
But
Man.
hey, your other honorable mention, Scott, was The Last of Us,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like that was worth bringing up because I feel like if you needed to make a definitive game that kind of summed up the decade from like a far out view critically, it'd probably be The Last of Us, right?
Yeah, it felt like one of the most important games of the decade. Would that be a better way to say that?
The Citizen Kane of games, if you will.
So
yeah, except this was entertaining. Yeah.
So believe it or not, I'm going to hold up the notepad so you guys can see. Right there. It was
makes for great radio.
Right. The Last of Us was actually my number 3 honorable mention.
Was it?
So
I understand why it's so important. You know, and I do think it's great, but maybe it's probably just because the harsh setting of the game, I never really wanted to revisit it.
Yeah, I can feel that, and I will say that the story, as good as the story was, I didn't have as much fun playing The Last of Us as I did other games that were on my top 5.
For me being a parent, that opening.
Oh man.
Well, yeah, I can only imagine.
So, but I'm going to say this just because I know Zack has done this before as well. The reason why The Wolf Among Us made my list is it is the only game that I've actually bought for 4 different consoles.
Yeah.
Wow.
And played on all 4. So
good call.
My man.
Well, those were our top 5s. We're going to go to our listeners. We asked them to share their top 5 lists on Facebook, Discord, and Twitter. So we're going to talk about what they told us. Keep in mind, we also did ask on social media for them to tell us their least favorite game or biggest disappointment from the decade as well. So we'll hear the listeners' takes on that before we get into ours as well. So let's start with Facebook. I did not put these in order, so let's go ahead and start with CB.
So, Kyle Boggs, starting at number 5 and working up, we have Bioshock Infinite, Skyrim, The Last of Us, Resident Evil 2 Remake, and Uncharted 4.
Resident Evil 2 Remake is an interesting choice.
I'm honestly, I probably would have taken Resident Evil 7 over 2.
That's a tough call. I liked it because it was new, but I wonder if Resident Evil 2 was a better made game.
I think I have to give it to 2 just for Claire.
Yes. Of course you did. Of course you did.
I would give it to 2 for Tofu.
Tofu.
I would give it to 2, but yeah, it's a narrow gap.
Yeah.
I think Kyle's going to be mad at me when we talk about disappointing games. Let's just say that. Michael Bonovich, I'm going to guess these are in descending order. So we'll say Portal 2, The Last of Us, Bioshock Infinite, God of War, and The Witcher 3.
Not a bad list at all.
No, I think when you get to when the critics start weighing in on the games of the decade and stuff, I feel like the 3 games it'll be down to is God of War, The Last of Us, and Witcher 3.
Possibly. Yeah.
I think so. And the God of War shouldn't, because it's just The Last of Us in Norse mythology.
Wow. Okay.
I'm actually going to say that there's another game in there that I think just because of the amount of revenue it's pulled in, and it's on Sean Coates' list.
Okay, I can respect what you're about to put down.
All right. Well, I'll say Sean Coates' list next. He says, for my top 5 in no particular order, Spider-Man, Wolfenstein New Order, Grand Theft Auto 5, Red Dead Redemption, and Far Cry 3. Man, Far Cry 3 I had on my list, and I swapped it out at the last minute. He says, also, my choices for worst 5 are more disappointments rather than just straight up bad, since these had the potential for greatness but stumbled so hard, which in my opinion is a worse feeling than simply playing a bad game. And that list includes Star Wars Battlefront 1 and 2, SimCity 2013, Aliens Colonial Marines, and Duke Nukem Forever. Which game were you referring to, CB?
Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah.
The amount of revenue.
I don't think critics care. That's all. So when you get to the lists and the critics are making them, I don't think they would care.
Yeah, I don't either. Although that game was technically impressive. It really was, especially for the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to go impressive and important, Fortnite should probably be near the top of the list too.
That's true.
I'd put PUBG over Fortnite.
I think one of them is remembered more fondly.
I think you also have a kid that won't stop talking about Fortnite, so
Nope.
that has something to do with your...
Since the black hole event, those words have not left his mouth.
Darn. Did he go to Gotham?
No,
I downloaded the game just to go to Gotham.
he actually has been stuck on a Minecraft and Subnautica.
You know, it's funny you say that because I read an article the other day or something where people are saying that kids aren't playing Fortnite as much anymore. They've gone back to Minecraft.
Yep.
Like Minecraft is the new hotness again all of a sudden.
Surprisingly,
You gotta go back to the good old days.
I've been seeing a lot of streamers going into Subnautica. That's why I started playing it. And it's
on Game Pass now, right?
It's really good.
Man, I gotta play that game. Dang it.
Dang it.
All right, CB, you're up again.
Tori Melching, Borderlands 2,
That's a good call.
Bioshock Infinite. I'm actually surprised you didn't say Borderlands 2. Bioshock Infinite, Uncharted 3, Spider-Man, and Infamous Second Son.
Wow, a curveball there at number 1.
Yeah, I was taken aback by that one.
Second Son was good though.
I'm not saying it wasn't. I was just like,
I actually preferred the expansion, First Light.
First Light was good. That was where you played as the female character whose name is escaping me.
Fetch.
Fetch, thank
as
you.
portrayed by
Neon.
Laura Bailey.
Ah, yeah. Good.
Tori, thank you for picking the correct Uncharted game. I appreciate that.
I still think I like 2 better than 3.
Also before you read this next
2009.
one. Before you read this next one, Zach, I have to throw mad props to Rico Ramirez for his number 5.
Right, because Rico Ramirez's number 5 is Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, the game that bankrupted Rhode Island.
That's a game that everybody talks about and I've never touched. It's an RPG, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Written by partially written by R.A. Salvatore.
Art directed by Todd McFarlane and gameplay directed by the guy I cannot remember the name of, but he did the gameplay design for Morrowind and Oblivion.
Which,
okay.
When you have a trifecta like that, I am surprised that game just didn't blow everything out of the water.
Well, you have a baseball pitcher with no sense of finance running the company, and all of a sudden the money all goes away.
Funny how that works.
What are the odds? But then number 4, Batman Arkham City. It turns out that's a great choice, Rico. Darksiders 3 at number 2, or number 1, number 3. Jeez.
Number Darksiders 2 at number 3.
Thank you.
Big difference there.
Number 2, Skyrim. And number 1, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Which is a respectable choice, for sure.
Yeah, I think you guys were a little surprised that wasn't on my list. And I think the biggest reason, as big of a Zelda fan as I am, I've never had any desire to go back to play Breath of the Wild. I really enjoyed it at the time. I've just not wanted to go back. And to me, that's a big pull for saying a game is my favorite, is if I want to go back into it.
You know what? Thank you for saying that, Scott, because that's really what I was thinking. That's really something that really stuck out to me when I was overthinking the hell out of this topic. Was the games that just keep pulling you back because they mean so much to you, or they are just so engaging.
Yeah, like, do you ever play a game where you go back and play it and all of a sudden you get flooded with like the feelings that you were having at that time when you were playing it? Or, like if you get a scent or something that just brings you back. Sometimes playing those games brings me back and reminds me of a different time. Not necessarily a better time, not necessarily a worse time, just a different time than I am living right now. And I love that. That's
such an incredible feeling. Mm-hmm. Rico also threw in the games he least liked were Dark Void and the Technomancer.
Dark Void, wasn't that like Gears of War in the air?
Yeah, yes. Yep. Nolan North was doing his best Nolan North at the time.
Yeah. I've never played Technomancer though.
It was it's a mid-tier RPG from the guys who did Greedfall.
Oh, okay.
It came out earlier this year.
Spiders?
Yes, spiders, absolutely. Yeah. Fun fact about Dark Void, Nolan North was trying to do a different voice at the beginning of that project. And they begged him to, they're just like, oh no, just do the Nathan Drake. We just want the Nathan Drake.
And so he did.
Well, I mean, the check cleared, didn't it?
Yeah, might as well. Aaron Peterson said his number 5 is Gears of War 3, followed by Ghost Recon Wildlands, and then Until Dawn, Spider-Man, and Portal 2.
What's with Portal 2, man?
Portal 2.
It's that good.
It's
Johnson.
great. Look, it's great. But boy, did that game just not linger in my mind for very long.
Oh, man.
I definitely prefer the first Portal. There's no question.
Oh, no, I definitely like the second Portal better.
I can...
Like just the personality, the puzzles were more clever, and they had co-op. The co-op in that game was fantastic. It was a completely separate game that you had to play with somebody else.
I can honestly say at least once or twice a year, I will break out Portal 2 and play it.
Same here.
So
genuinely love that game.
I mean, the fact that I will listen to the entire Cave Johnson audio file on YouTube just for giggles.
I will listen to the Portal 2 soundtrack, like sitting outside by myself around a fire, drinking a beer, and it just is a haunting soundtrack. I love it. Portal 2 is so good. I want to go play Portal 2 now. Thanks a lot.
Hey, we can do it co-op.
All right, Steve, we're back to you.
Mac Herring. No particular order here, looks like, but God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, Fallout 4, Ghost Recon Wildlands for the second time.
Wow, that is unexpected.
Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen.
I've not played Dragon's Dogma.
I haven't either.
I can't speak to that one. But not a bad list.
I really liked Dragon's Dogma until I hit a game-breaking bug.
What happened?
I was in some part of town, and there was a quest trigger. But the quest trigger wanted me to go back out of town, but I couldn't go back out of town or something like that. I Googled around. It was a known bug. And I had no interest in replaying those 8 hours or so to get there again.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, but it was really good. It is the closest you will ever get to a Berserk video game if you've ever read that manga.
Interesting. All right, we are back to you, Zach.
Scott Boers has a pretty good list here. Number 5, Jedi Fallen Order. 4, God of War. 3, Persona 5. 2, Red Dead Redemption 2. I'll forgive you on that one, Scott. And number 1, Spider-Man.
That made up for it, is what you're saying?
Whip. And he's also adding an honorable mention of Horizon Zero Dawn. His biggest letdown was Watch Dogs. He was so hyped for that game and didn't live up to the hype. In all fairness, that's his fault. But he tries not to get hyped on games, but it can be so hard not to.
Yeah, that first reveal of Watch Dogs was really intriguing. You remember when they revealed that at E3?
Yes, I was convinced we were going to finally get modern day Assassin's Creed.
Yeah,
which is something I long craved for, starring Desmond Miles.
Well,
still wish.
We got another Scott that sent in a list. He says, first off, wow, 10 years and top 5 is tough. Here I go. We'll start with number 5. Number 5 is Horizon Zero Dawn. 4 is Borderlands 2. 3 is Red Dead Redemption 2. 2 is Fallout New Vegas. And number 1 is Far Cry 3, which is another one that I had to chop off my list.
And he actually said Red Dead Redemption 1, not 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was reading the one below. But yeah, Red Dead Redemption, not Red Dead Redemption 2. Sorry, Scott. Didn't mean to be blasphemous. He says, my least favorite overhyped game is one I finished, but barely, and that was Assassin's Creed Unity. Boy, I had ambitions of 100%ing Assassin's Creed Unity, and that became a insurmountable task for me. Because, holy crap, there's a lot of stuff on that map.
Not to mention the stuff that you have to do with partners.
Right. All right, let's go ahead and move on to Discord. CB, back to you.
GamerDad03, PUBG, Rocket League, Uncharted Lost Legacy / Thieves End, Spider-Man and The Last of Us.
Not bad.
Yeah.
I appreciate you cheating on the Lost Legacy thing.
Yeah, right.
I understand
that's 2 games, man, not 1.
Well, it originated as DLC.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I'm just glad he said PUBG instead of Fortnite.
Hey, man, whatever trips your trigger.
Well, speaking of cheating, Zach, yours is up next.
Cam Cody comes in with Bioshock 2, Halo the Master Chief Collection. Yep, that's definitely cheating. Remnant from the Ashes, Apex Legends, and I cannot believe this is not a troll, but Fallout 76.
Man, he loves that game. He talks about that all the time on Discord.
I hop on and play with him every now and then, and it's a super good game. So, I mean, I'm still waiting for the expansion to come, so they put people back in the game.
Yeah, I can't wait to them add NPCs to this RPG.
You really want? I don't understand why you're so hung up on NPCs.
It's an RPG, man.
I know it's not an RPG. It's like
well,
right. I mean, I haven't played it, so I can't.
Anyway,
it's kind of crazy. Sai Quinones says Mass Effect 2, Witcher 3, Fire Emblem Awakening, Dishonored. That's one we haven't heard from yet.
Okay.
And Nier Automata.
Sai, you're my guy.
Dishonored is a game I need to give another shot to.
Yeah.
I think I was frustrated with Dishonored because I wanted to be perfect in that game. You know, like where you go through and do it without killing anybody to get the good ending.
I think it was.
And as soon as you make one mess up and kill somebody, it's over.
Yes, it was way too punitive towards killing.
Mm-hmm. And I gave up. Oh, he goes on to say his worst games, which include Duke Nukem Forever, Devil's Third, Aliens Colonial Marines, Ride to Hell Retribution, and Tony Hawk 5. Was that the one that came with the skateboard peripheral that you actually had to stand on?
No, that was Underground. Or no, that was Downhill
Underground.
Jam. Tony Hawk 5 was
really?
the new one that just came out on like Xbox One.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. They had the audacity to put the 5 on the box.
All right. CB, back to you.
Matt Hacksaw Sattler, Rocket League, Overwatch, Diablo 3, Borderlands 2, and Horizon Zero Dawn.
I toyed with Diablo 3 just for the sheer number of hours I put in that game, but
it was really close. But for him, worst, no surprise here, Anthem, Rage, Alien Colonial Marines, Mass Effect Andromeda, and Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite.
I did not play that one. Did they review it that poorly? Because I saw it on a couple other lists.
That one kind of surprised me. I mean, it wasn't the worst fighter that I've ever played, but yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
It was middle of the road for me.
Okay. And last one there, Zach.
All right, absolutely. Going counting down. Red Dead. This is David Newman. Sorry, David Newman. Number 5, Red Dead Redemption. Number 4, The Last of Us. Number 3, Batman Arkham City. Number 2, Skyrim. Number 1, Spider-Man. And he says the worst game, David. I love you, man. Worst game, No Man's Sky.
You know, I have a hard time arguing with him. And I don't want to crap on that developer like you do, but I wanted to like that game so much, and there was absolutely nothing about that was entertaining to me whatsoever. Absolutely nothing.
I still crap on it simply because we already had the game in Elite Dangerous, which was a better game.
I haven't played that one, but I hear nothing but good things about that one. So, speaking of bad games, this part might have been even tougher. What were your biggest letdowns of the past decade? You know, the games that stand out as the worst game you played over the decade, or maybe the biggest disappointment. Zach, you're first this time.
Yeah, I aired more on the disappointment end.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I had a few. Uncharted 4 was the most unnecessary game I've ever played.
That's the one that's going to piss off Kyle, right?
Yes, yeah, I would assume.
This is number 1.
Right. I did not like that very much at all. Arkham Knight was a big letdown. Way too much Batmobile.
No, I love the Batmobile.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's not the Batmobile. Because I replayed it last year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty great game. The story, though, is dumb. It's dumb.
Well, I'm not a big Batman aficionado like you are, so you have different reasons than I do. It
was silly, and they share up a lot in interviews about the Arkham Knight's identity.
Right.
Red Dead Redemption 2 was a big disappointment. If you remember,
it was for me as well. I really wanted to like that game, and I tried. I know people love and worship that game.
And leading up to launch, I would jokingly refer to it as the last game we would ever need to play, because it just looked like it was going to be a 100-hour cowboy thing. And with the Red Dead Online, and how good the first game was, it was like, how could this possibly go wrong? And then you play it for 30 hours and the story hasn't started.
Yeah.
And then I think my biggest disappointment is Metal Gear Solid 5, which was a slow burn disappointment, and I was in denial forever. But I was like, oh yeah, this is just a weird Kojima vision, and then the story, it just wasn't there for that game, and that's kind of what Metal Gear Solid lives and dies by.
Fair enough. All right, CB.
Ooh. Well, no surprise here. I have a couple, but Aliens Colonial Marines was number one on my list just because I'm a diehard Xeno fan.
I feel like I tried to play that co-op with somebody. Was that you?
Probably. And it's all because of the letter A. That game is so bad.
Yeah, it's like one letter in the code that they changed that made the AI better or something.
Oh no, that made the AI so dumb. Evolve.
I forgot about Evolve. Yeah,
that's a good call.
That one definitely was on there for me. And then 90% of the Kinect catalog.
That's cheating.
You could have just said the Kinect.
No, because I used the Kinect a lot for certain games.
Oh man, Dance Central was a blast. I don't care who you are. I had a blast with that.
Oh yeah.
What about Kinect Star Wars?
No. Shut your mouth.
No.
Shut your mouth.
Isn't that like the dance game where you play as a Twilight?
No, I'm Han Solo. The only fun part about this game, and Nate was there for it, was you get to play as a Rancor and basically just go full on rampage, just smashing things.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, that was the only redeeming quality about that game. But there was two fighting games, Fighters Uncaged and Fighting Within. They were
and those were good?
No, they were terrible. Like all of a sudden, like your fist just like wanders through your face. You're like, like what is going on here? Just
that's good. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right. My first one should come as no surprise. Journey.
Okay.
Everybody loves that game. I wanted to love that game. I was so pumped for it. It was doing something new and different and exciting. And it was a push forward on the thumbstick simulator. To me, that's all that game was.
Oh,
I don't care how pretty it was. I actually appreciated what they were trying to go for with pairing up, doing an online game with a stranger that you weren't able to communicate with. I kind of dug that. It just didn't work for me. I've never been... I remember sitting there because I actually at that time had my PS3 set up in my bedroom and I wanted to play it so bad I sat there on the edge of my bed, which I never play games there, and finished that game. And I walked up the hill and the credits rolled and I went, that's it? I was so angry.
Let me tell you about the ending of Death Stranding.
Hey, shh. I'm still playing.
Yet.
Still playing.
Yeah, don't tell me yet. But we'll get there. Do we need to do a spoiler cast for that game?
No. Hey, look, I didn't hate the game. It's just that's not a game for Scott Clark. I can tell you that right off the bat.
Yeah. I don't mind watching 3-hour cutscenes, actually. If I can sit there and watch a movie for 3 hours.
Cutie booty delivery duty.
What's interesting is that between us and our listeners did not show on any best of the decade or worst of the decade. I feel like it's like right smack there in the middle. Somehow it averaged out and nobody thinks it's their favorite. Nobody thinks it's their least favorite.
Don't make me use the phrase.
Yeah, right. It is.
Ooh.
My number 2 is one, I'm guessing neither of you have played this, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutants in Manhattan was a game that I could not wait to play. Finally got it out. It came out back when we had the old crew, and I remember being so excited to play that with somebody, and Josh and I sat and played that game together, and it was an absolute piece of garbage. There was these mini games in between that had you eating as much pizza as you can. That didn't make any sense how it worked. It didn't feel like it had the spirit of the Ninja Turtles at all. It just made me want to go back and play the arcade game. So that was most disappointing. And lastly, Homefront Revolution. The original Homefront was a ton of fun. It was a interesting setting. It took place on our soil. It had some genuinely gruesome scenes. that were tough to watch. And then Homefront Revolution came around, and it was nowhere near the caliber. It wasn't interesting. The gameplay just did not feel right at all. I really did not like that game.
The sequel to the game that we never asked for.
Yeah, I felt like Homefront by itself was just fine.
I liked Homefront.
I did.
Red Dawn, the game.
It was. It really was. I half expected them to say Wolverine somewhere in the middle of that.
I really did too. I'm actually surprised that you didn't say Moose Man.
Your protagonist didn't talk at all in that
Moose
game.
Man.
That was the worst part.
You really hate it when that happens in games, don't you?
Well, especially in Homefront, because there's a part where you're thought dead by your comrades. You're like, hey man, you okay? Just let us know if you're okay. And he doesn't say anything.
All right. Well, that was a fun topic. And thanks for everybody that wrote in and participated. It was a good time. Before we move on to the games we've been playing, got to say hello to some new community members over on Facebook, which you can join the group over there at facebook.com/groups/TheGoCast. We've got Paul Hine, Eric Gates, and Timothy Englert. Welcome to the group over there. But we do not have any new Discord members, so be sure to head over there. The link can be found in the show notes below. And also, if you'd like to let us know what you think of the show, give us a review over on iTunes. It genuinely gets us some exposure and helps people to learn about the Gaming Outsider and what we're doing here. We do appreciate the feedback, and we do listen. Also, our website is thegamingoutsider.com, and you can go there to read all of our written reviews, including the review by Zack on Death Stranding, also Nate's review of New Super Lucky's Tale, and then you should have a review up for Sniper Elite 3 from Joel Solinsky here in the very near future. In the meantime, let's go ahead and talk about the games we've actually been playing. All right, Zach, anything new coming on the horizon this week that we can pick up?
I mean, sure, there's a couple games. You got Hearthstone's getting a big expansion with Descent of Dragons. It's coming to everything, PC, iOS, and Android that Hearthstone's on. That's December 10th. MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries, which I thought came out about 4 or 5 times already. It's coming on PC December 10th. I got Narcos, Rise of the Cartel, coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC December 10th. Terminator's getting the FPS game on PS4, Xbox One, December 10th. And the craziest game, Detroit Become Human, coming to PC on December 12th.
It's a weird time for that to come out, too. Although, I guess it's kind of in... There's nothing else big coming out. I guess now it would be a good time, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's still just weird to see a PlayStation exclusive coming to PC.
I agree. Well, where do we want to start? I want to start with you, CB, because you've been playing a game called The Climb, which is by no means a brand new game. It's been on other platforms, but it finally is on the Oculus Quest. You got a chance to play this. This looks like straight up a climbing simulator in VR.
It is.
Is that a fair assessment? Yeah?
It is, and quite possibly one of the best ones I've seen.
Wow.
I played, there was another game, To the Top, that was on PSVR, which was very arcadey and comic, like, I wouldn't say comic style, but just very kind of bland. Mm-hmm. This game is
it gave
gorgeous.
You some vertigo, though. I played that one.
Yeah. This game is gorgeous. Like, very, very, very pretty. I'm a little disappointed in the fact that there's only 3 locations.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Bay, the Alps, and like the Canyon. And each one of the levels has like 5 areas. There's easy, medium, and hard, and then there's 2 bonus levels. And you progress through the game. Basically, it's a literal climb up these cliff faces, and they have varying degrees of grips that you can use. Some technical, where like you're using basically like 2 fingers or like a full hand grip. But there's stamina. To get all 3 stars, you race to the top of each one. But it's one of the few times in VR where I've actually like turned and looked behind me, like to see like how high I am, and there is a very good sense of vertigo. So they've managed to crack that very good, and it looks beautiful with that Cry engine on this.
Well, yeah, this is made by Crytek. We should have led with that probably. Who, Crytek made Crisis, which was which was the game to play on PC. It was the one to show off your
tech,
your video card back in the day. So they know what they're doing in terms of that. I mean, I haven't played it yet because I don't have the Quest. But I mean, does this game make you feel like we're getting close to VR looking like what we want it to look like in terms of playing something looking as good as it plays playing on TV?
Yes. This game actually did a very good job on tricking my brain. On like multiple occasions, I would find myself like leaning back to like try to look around handholds, or even like holding your hand with some of the like upside down grips, because you actually like put your hand in that position. And then I found myself leaning back to the point that one time I almost fell over.
Because when you say leaning back, are you like attached to a cable with a carabiner and all that?
No, it's free climbing.
Oh, geez.
And so if you let go, you fall.
But it looked like in the video there was moments where you could connect a carabiner to yourself.
Those are save points. So if you fall, that's the spot you go back to.
Just like in real life.
Yes. So they do a phenomenal job on this. And then of course there's like little hidden collectibles throughout the levels. There's like these little UFOs, or there's GoPro cams that people have dropped that you can find. This game has a lot of replayability.
Oh, okay.
So I've been enjoying it thoroughly. I've actually beaten all of the levels so far, but I'm going through and trying to beat my times.
Oh, so it's a time game as well.
No. So to get the 3 stars or the max score, you have to basically race up the cliff face as fast as you can to get the 3 stars, because you have to get a certain number of stars to unlock the different levels. But then there's also a world and local leaderboard that shows like how fast you did it in.
Gotcha.
So it's got some mild replayability. I'm having fun with it, still playing it. So
very cool. That is The Climb from Crytek. I need to check that out, if nothing else, to see what it looks like playing a high resolution VR game, because that sounds interesting.
Cool. Well, Scott, you kept the VR train rolling with touring karts on PSVR, right?
Yes, I did. It's basically Mario Kart in VR.
It definitely. I was gonna say, can we just beat around the bush and say this is Mario Kart VR?
Oh, totally. I mean, you don't have turtle shells, but you strangely have banana peels. Which is weird that they're in there.
It's less iconic, I guess.
I don't know. I feel like banana peels are more iconic than the shells.
It's more generic though than a Koopa shell.
Yeah, I mean, I guess because banana peels are things in the cartoons they always slip on them and whatnot. But have you ever played a racing game in VR before?
No.
Okay. Well, I got queasy as hell playing this. And I know that
seems cool though.
I know. I was just going to say, it sounds like I'm not selling you on this, but to me, the motion was that good in this game that it made me feel sick to my stomach for quite a while. Now, this is a game that does not have to be played in VR, and I think that's a big point of this, is that when you start it up, there are, I think, 5 or 6 different ways that you can play this game. One is just straight up with a controller. One is with the VR helmet and a controller. One is with a steering wheel and the VR helmet and a wand and a move wand. So you drive with one hand, and the wand is for throwing items, because to throw an item you literally throw, you either thrust the controller forward or you throw a move controller. So you got all these like intricate ways that you can play the game however you want to, which I've never seen in a VR game that lets you choose, which is kind of cool. I don't really know what else more to tell you other than it is a VR game. It looks very flat, and I know that sounds like I'm hardcore knocking it, but after playing Mario Kart with my students quite a bit, it doesn't look near the quality of that, but it's also doesn't have the budget of a Mario Kart 8 or any Nintendo product for that matter. The turning and everything feels a little more. It doesn't feel quite as fluid, but it's serviceable. It feels like a old school karting game back when karting games were first starting to become a thing. if that makes sense. It's not terrible. It just feels like it's got a ways to go. They're definitely focusing on adding the VR tech more than they were to making the rest of the game. But the tracks are pretty simple. Lots of carts to unlock, lots of things to do. But man, it's very strange playing a racing game in VR where you turn, but at the same time, your head is also moving. So as I'm turning left, I can actually turn my head to the right and look over here to my right while I'm doing that, which really messes with your head.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds pretty cool, though.
It is cool. I'm talking hours after I put it away that I was still feeling it, and I had to get some food in my stomach or something. And I hadn't had any alcohol either. Just I'll throw that out there. So, yeah, it's worth checking out. It is. It's not the best kart racing game I've ever played, but it's the only one that I've ever been able to play in VR, and for that, it's worth checking out. It's serviceable enough that it's worth checking out if you have a PlayStation VR headset.
Plus, you can drink and drive in it.
That's true. Oh man, now you're gonna really make me queasy in my stomach.
Why can't you? Part of the trailer you sent me was you could drink your sodas while you drive.
Well, that's a big thing in this game. Is you don't have mushrooms to make you go faster. You get energy drinks.
Okay.
And but what's interesting is there's a mechanic where you collect this energy drink, and if you save it for the next power up, you can actually combine that power up with the second power up, or with the energy drink to make it a super boosted one. So, in between one of the races, I got to send you the screenshot of this. I'll text it to you when we're done recording. But because one of the items that you pick up is a goat, or not a goat, but like a duck or a goose or some kind of bird. And it has this picture of this girl with this crazy look on her face, jamming an energy drink down the throat of this bird. Like, drink this. And it was kind of a crazy, disturbing picture, but it was during one of the loading screens. And I took a screenshot of it because I thought it was hilarious. So,
wow,
that is
so you recommend
Touring Karts. Touring Karts on PlayStation VR. Again, you don't have to have VR for that. You can play that if you just want a kart game on PlayStation. You can pick that up there too. So, we're going to talk about another PlayStation VR game. Why not? We got 3 this week. CB, you've been playing a game called Ski Jumping Pro VR on PlayStation VR, and I'm really curious about this because when I saw the trailer for this, me and my aversion to heights made me think that this is a game that I was not going to want to play because I had been queasy from playing touring karts. I got queasy playing Ace Combat 7 in PlayStation VR. How queasy do you get jumping hundreds of feet in the air at breakneck speeds in this game?
It'd be great if you actually jumped hundreds of feet in the air.
Wait, you don't?
So, yeah, ideally in the perfect setting you would, but this game suffers from some poor control.
Uh-oh. Well, how does the control work? Because I don't understand what you do in ski. I mean, I can understand what you do physically when you're positioning your skis and you're positioning your body and actually jumping up at the end to extend your legs. What do you do in this game?
So you do all that, but there's this... The biggest problem I've had with PSVR is one of the Move controllers needs to have a D-pad.
Oh, okay.
Because this game, you spend a lot of time in menus. And you have to put your Move controllers down and pick up a regular controller and use the D-pad to scroll down, but then press X on the Move controller. So That's really irritating for a game like this.
I can imagine.
Because especially we're a game where positioning is everything.
Well, yeah.
So when you have to turn around, pick up the controller, move the thing, turn back. And if you forget to readjust the tracking every single time that you do this, you start at the top of a ski hill and you have to use both move controllers to like push off, like
the poles.
Yeah, like your poles to get everything going. You actually have they have the countdown clock. They have a wind speed clock, and within the 10 seconds, you have to like launch at the perfect time for like when the wind speed is the lowest. So you launch yourself down, and as you're going down, you have to hold your arms out to maintain your balance. So if your balance is a little bit off, you slow down. So if you don't readjust your tracking, you're already like adjusting your balance at an awkward angle.
So it's Death Stranding, the Olympic sport.
Yes. So then you get to the bottom, you actually have to like raise both your hands very quickly to simulate the jump. Now, you've been in my basement.
Uh-oh.
The basement in my ceiling is not as high as I'd like it to be.
Tell me you punched the drop ceiling or something.
Couple times.
Oh.
That's awesome.
So I did that a couple times. So, but once I figured out like, okay, if I stand at this spot in my basement, I don't hit the drop ceiling as much. And so you jump off, and I know you've watched the Olympic sport of like the Olympics before, and they have the long jump.
Yeah.
And it seems those guys are in the air forever.
Right.
This game is just like boop, boop. Like you're up, you're down. But here's the problem.
Are you just not jumping the distance?
Oh no, I'm still getting like 80, 90 like feet or whatever you're going.
That's not very long, man.
Oh, I know. So that was in the beginning. I think I've got it up to like 100 meters now.
Okay.
But the problem is, like, even at 100 meters, you're only in the air for like 3 seconds. But when you jump up, you have to your arms are out. So you have the max flight time.
Right.
As you come back to the ground, you have to bring your arms back together and keeping them balanced and in line to land your skis. Otherwise, you will fall over every time.
Okay.
So there's a lot of movements that you have to do. And the problem is the PSVR, the tracking on the camera and the head unit with the move controllers, I don't feel are fast enough for what they want to happen in this game.
Gotcha.
Because I made 68 jumps, like, because each one of them takes about like 2 minutes, like beginning to end, like with the timing and everything.
Right.
I landed 8.
Wow.
And that was like every single time, like making sure to adjust the tracking.
Now, can you play it without the move controllers?
Nope.
Just do the controller?
It has to be played with the move controllers.
That's a bummer.
Yeah. This game definitely suffers from overly sensitive controls and hardware limitations.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. I still kind of want to check it out just to... Oh. I mean, do you get that sense of... I mean, you said you're not in the air for very long. Do you get any sense of...
You do a little.
Yeah?
But yeah, like I said, you can definitely tell that there are limitations to the hardware for this. When you land, like, there's like little trees in the ground. They almost are remnant of like trees that you would see in like early 90s video games where they were like like almost like a cross from the top.
Uh-huh.
And then when you look at them straight on, they have like the animation to them.
Sure.
But from the top, they just look like plus signs on the ground.
Oh, no.
So I'm like, oh, God. Like, I hate finding flaws in games. And I just feel that if this game were on something like The Quest or the Vive or something with a little more beef behind it, this game could have been a lot better.
Now, is there any... I'm still intrigued by this, like, flying through the air, because that was the appeal for me playing this, because I wanted to see if it was going to give me that fear that I have of, you know, I don't like heights. Do you get any sense of progression, like you get better skis or better poles or something that's going to help you to get further distance that you might be able to get those super long jumps that we see in the Olympics?
So you have to, for the character progression, you have to play through the competition. But if you cannot land the jumps, You cannot get the sponsors to not get the dollars. So it's just a self-perpetuating cycle if you can't land the jumps.
It's that hard to land the jumps, huh?
I got really frustrated with it.
Sounds like it.
So, and don't get me wrong, I love all things VR. Occasionally there is a swing and a miss. To me, this was a swing and a miss. Maybe I'm just not doing something right, but when I spend almost 2 hours playing a game and my success rate for something that seems simple enough to do is less than like almost 10%, I feel something's wrong.
Gotcha. I'm going to have to check that one out and see my experience with it, because that's a bummer. I didn't expect it to be a game that I was just going to rave about, but I thought it was going to be a really fun experience.
I mean, when you do hit those long flights, there's a little bit of that upheaval moment in your stomach, but not as much as you'd think.
Interesting. Well, that is Ski Jumping Pro VR, and you were playing that on the PlayStation VR. Written review to come, I assume?
Hopefully. I got a couple other irons in the fire on games that I'm reviewing. So I will do what I can. But speaking of non-VR things, you played a new game on Game Pass, Demon's Tilt?
Yes, I don't know if I call it a new game, because this is actually an older game that I think I feel like they just brought it over to Xbox One. But shout out to Mike Card, my old podcast buddy, co-host of the Official Thread podcast, who turned me out of this game. I didn't even know it was on Xbox, or if I saw the name of it, I didn't realize it was a pinball game. This is a pinball game, so a new pinball game? I got to play it, and I am hopelessly addicted to this game, man. I don't know if you got a chance to check this out, but this game it feels like an old PS1 or Super Nintendo Genesis era game, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean like the way that the explosions happen on the screen, the music is pixelated, very 16-bit, 32-bit era. It feels like a game I've played before, so I almost have nostalgia for it, but I've never played it before. And it does something interesting in a pinball table I've never seen before, and well, not that I've never seen, but do you remember the old pinball game on Nintendo, just called Pinball?
Yes, one of the
had, like,
black
Mario
box games.
Like Mario had like a little pillar thing that he was holding, and then you would go back and forth, and that had like different levels. Like you would kind of like the Sonic Spinball games where you would like kind of go up to different ones. This one has that, but it has 3 basic levels, and each one has its own specific things you're supposed to do to keep it going. And you have to really learn the table, just like any other pinball table. But this is a very I cannot say the word, multiplier heavy table, in that there's a couple sections in the game that will multiply your score ×2, then ×3, ×4, ×5. I actually got my multiplier up to over 100 at one point, which then you just start raking it in like crazy. There's actually an achievement to get it up to 200, a 200 multiplier, which I have not been able to do yet. But if you can do that, then start doing the ultra jackpots and the multi-balls. It is so satisfying watching stuff explode all around you and just seeing those points rack up in the multi-millions. It's a blast. So I won't say too much more about it because it is pinball, and I know that it's not everybody's favorite. But if you want kind of... Do you remember Kiss Pinball?
Yeah. I think that was on
the
actual
PlayStation
table
1.
or the PS1 game?
The PS1 game.
Yeah.
This game, admittedly, I have not played that, but Mike, who turned me out of this, said that this reminded him very much of Kiss Pinball in the way it looks and sounds and feels, and that it's just ridiculous enough that it's a blast to play. So some of the sounds, very old school sounds, are very satisfying when you hit that ball in the right place. It just feels good. The physics aren't like a Pinball FX 2 or 3 level caliber, but I am freaking loving this game. So that is Demon's Tilt. You can play it for free on Xbox One if you like pinball games at all. It's worth checking out.
I say Scott Clark ass Scott Clark game.
Right? Yeah. What can I say, man? I like Scott Clark games.
I might have to give it a whirl.
All right. Well, that is all the new games we've been playing, but we've got a couple other reviews for you that we pre-recorded for you. I sat down with Tomas over in Ireland, who played a game called Interrogation, You Will Be Deceived, as well as a point-and-click adventure called The Secrets of Jesus. He's going to talk about that. And then I talked to Alyssa, who played a game called Tokyo Dark Remembrance, which is a port of an older game that she played on Switch for us. So without further ado, here are those reviews right now. Thomas Bex, how are you, brother?
I am very well, Scott. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Thank you so much for stopping by. You got two games to talk to us about this time. The first one is called Interrogation, You Will Be Deceived, and this one looked like one that you had to play after watching the trailer. This comes from Critique Gaming, and we've got to give a shout out to Big Games Machines for hooking us up with a review copy so that you can check this one out. What exactly is this game? I know that you're normally our point-and-click adventure aficionado. Is this point-and-click, or is there a little bit more to it?
It is not a point-and-click in the straight sense of the word, but it is a highly narratively driven game that takes place in actually all at one location. You're not investigating anything in the sense that you're not walking around collecting clues, etc., etc. No, you are a police interrogator, and you are trying to get the truth out of people. And you can do that either friendly or not so friendly. The game lets you choose your own ways in that. And in this case, you start the game with an interrogation. And at the end of the interrogation, it is clear that there is a huge terrorist organization at play here. And
So really this game should have been called Good Cop, Bad Cop, is what you're saying?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
In this case, you are, after the first interrogation, you are appointed as the head of the task force to find and eradicate this terrorist organization. And that is what you basically will be doing the rest of the time. So every chapter, let me call it a chapter, every chapter is a new interrogation.
Mm-hmm.
And it continues the story, and it is up to you to decide how you get the facts out of the suspects. These can be timed interrogations, and these can be non-timed interrogations. And I can tell you that timed interrogations are incredibly tense. There are two modes you can play in. You can play in a narrative mode, or you can play in the hardcore interrogation mode, which means that in the narrative mode, the timer goes down every time you ask a question. So you ask a question, the timer goes 5 seconds down. And you think 5 seconds is not so much, but if you only have 5 minutes, or if you only have 10 minutes to find the location of a bomb, and you need to get a lot of information out of someone, that goes fast. Now, in the hardcore interrogation missions, the timer just goes down. It just counts down. And you have...
It's constantly counting down no matter, like, while you're making your decision. So in the regular mode, you make these dialogue choices, but you only lose time when you select. You have as much time to select your choice as you want.
Yes.
And then it counts down time for that.
And your dialogue choices are permanent. So you can revisit certain questions, but you will probably not get a different answer because you have already asked a question, unless you have a reason to ask a question and the person you're interrogating has a different answer to it because of circumstances. For instance, you can get the truth out of them because they really like you, and you can get the truth out of them because they really fear you. And that fear can be, for instance, gotten through, well, actually threatening them or using physical force. You have the option to turn off the recorder and smack your suspect around. But you can also just build fear up in them by, for instance, having them realize what is going to happen to them if they don't tell the truth.
Gotcha. So it really is just all about interrogating. So is the gameplay just primarily just selecting pre-written dialogue choices and then going from there, or are you able to type your own at all?
No, it is all pre-written, but you get extra if you can unlock certain choices if you get the player to realize something. And sometimes you have to interrogate like 3 people at once. So you switch between the 3 interrogations, almost as if you have 3 different rooms with 3 different suspects.
Yeah, just like in the movies.
Yeah. And the fact is, with a lot of these interrogations, you will fail the first time.
Oh,
That's okay, because I experienced it as part of the game, as part of playing the game. A lot of these I failed the first time, but that did put me on track. There was one interrogation that was incredibly hard. It was timed. I had to find a location of a bomb, and I failed it the first 3 times until I found the correct order of asking questions. First, I had to ask this question to that person. That unlocked a dialogue tree in the other person, which gave me the information to get the truth out of another person. And
gotcha.
That led to another. So you are often trying to find out what you have to do next. And it's quite, as I said, it's tense. There is no dialogue. There is no voice acting in it. But there is background music and some sound effects that really add to the atmosphere while you're doing the interrogations. There is even one time when you are the one being interrogated. That was a very, very intense section of the game. And there is also, for instance, a hostage situation that you have to take charge of. And it's actually for a game that really takes place mostly in one place, namely the interrogation room.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a lot of stuff to work with. The dialogue and the stuff you can read up on, because it's not just interrogation, it is also taking care of your team. You have to allocate resources. You have to tell your team what they have to do. For instance, this person is very good on the streets, so I'm going to send him out to have a chat with that informer, and I'm allocating extra costs. So that guy has some extra money to get that informer to cooperate. Now, this other guy is really of old procedures, so I'm having him put up a new budget for the next month and see if I can get some extra money. And this person, she is very good with the brass, so she is going to talk to someone from another location in order to get some extra money. And then in the meantime, I am allocating these funds to this and these funds to this. So the next time, hopefully that has a positive effect. That may sound a bit complicated, but it's actually not that complicated. It's pretty straightforward. It's not like you wreck your brain about what you do. If you follow the story correctly, you will probably know what to do. And even if you fail, sometimes if you send someone out to do something that he failed in, that's not the end of the world. So that's actually a pretty cool aspect. It was an aspect at first that I thought I would not like, but it actually added a lot to the gameplay. Because
very cool. Talk to me about what the game looks like, because the brief little bit I watched on the trailer, it looks like it has a kind of a noir feel to it. But
it has a noir feel to it only because it's a black and white game.
Okay.
It does not like I did Nightcap a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
That whole game had a noir feel. This game does not have a noir feel. This game is right here and now, very in the present. You feel the pressure of your job in this game.
Sure.
And what they did is they rotoscoped all these actors. I think they used like 40 actors. So all the people you see in there are actual actors.
Oh, interesting.
And the way they respond, it's not just the text, the things they say, but it's also how they say it and how their facial things change. They can become defensive, or they can become more open, and you see it in their face. You see it in the way their body is. So
you kind of like lean in onto them, and it has an effect on them physically. That reminds me of L.A. Noire from Rockstar back in the day. Did you ever play that game?
Never played it. Always wanted to play it. I think I own it, but I never got around to playing it. And I think in that game you also have interrogation scenes. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was the selling point on that game. Was you would ask them these questions, and it would affect their their facial expressions.
It's not as deep as they go, but it has some of that in it, and you can use that.
Okay.
You can it most certainly adds to the atmosphere of the game.
Well, last question I want to ask you, Thomas, because obviously it sounds like you love this game and you recommend it. But with a game that is 100% just dialogue driven, where you're just picking, dialogue choices, that's a big sell for a lot of people. Like even like a game like L.A. Noire had shootouts and it had an open world that you could explore and all this kind of stuff. This game doesn't sound like it has any of that.
Nope.
So what makes this game so compelling to play without any of that extra stuff, just the dialogue choices?
Incredible writing.
Okay.
The possibility of interrogating people and be a good cop or be a bad cop. You can. I obviously was the good cop. You can choose after every, I think, 3 interrogations. You can choose something that will help you in future interrogations, like a memory. For instance, I chose that I am really analytical, so that helped me determine certain things. But you can also choose to be someone who really knows how to hurt someone. You can also choose someone who knows how to torture someone. So there are these moral choices you also make, and you can also mix it up. You can do both. So
interesting.
It has a replayability there that, and it also makes you think, because it goes deep into why. That's the main thing is, why are these people doing what they're doing? Because you need to know that you're profiling them. You need to know that in order to be able to stop them and to use that against them. And it goes really deep into different kinds of political views, different kinds of societal views. It was a joy to read, even though it sometimes you can read newspaper articles. It's part of the game, and those are quite a lot of text to read. But I just love it because it added so much, and the writing is really good in this game. It's incredible what they managed to pull off here.
Very cool. Again, that game is called Interrogation. You Will Be Deceived. Comes from Critique Gaming, and again, thank you to Big Games Machines for hooking us up with that one. I want to talk about the second game you've been playing, which I got to be direct with you, man. I was genuinely shocked that you were playing this game, considering your personal and political stances. You played The Secrets of Jesus, which is a point-and-click adventure from a guy by the name of Amir Matuk, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Talk to me about this one and what made you want to play this one, because, and maybe you want to tell everybody what I'm referring to about your personal thoughts.
Yeah, well, I am absolutely not a religious person, but I do love a good story. And of course, the story of the Bible is the oldest story literally in the book. So if someone gives me a new story to play, I am always willing to try it out. And in this case, it's Amir's first game. And this is a classic point-and-click adventure. As in, you actually play Jesus. And his goal is to make you look at religion, at the Bible, with a bit of an irreverent eye, with a wink every now and then. So they try to make you experience it in a different way. And here you play Jesus, who did not die on the cross, but actually he was rescued from the cross. So he did not die and got resurrected, but he got...
So it's like an alternate universe?
Yeah, he was put in the cave, but he was still alive, and he was rescued by his friends. And now that he's trying to escape from the Romans, because now obviously if the Romans catch him, he is going to be killed on the spot. So he wants to escape. He was hiding in John's house, his apostle John, and he wants to escape with Mary. But Mary Magdalene, and she only wants to come with him if he can find her father, and her father has disappeared. So this is all like a classic story setup for an adventure game, except this takes place in the 1st century. You can tell he put a lot of research in the game, because there's a lot of details, and obviously there's a lot of mentioning of the Bible, and there's also some humor. He tries to let Jesus come across as a good guy, as a good man, who tries to do a good thing, but he was definitely not perfect.
Oh, interesting.
And the funny thing is, like, besides Jesus being a bit preachy, He's Jesus after all. He preaches. That's what he does. But he also refuses to steal things, for instance. And in most point-and-click adventures, you steal everything, every item that is not nailed shut down. You grab and you take it with you because it will have a use somewhere in the game. In this case, nope. Jesus refuses to take stuff that is not his. So you have to find different ways of acquiring certain items by buying it, by doing chores for it, by getting the person gifted to you or whatever. So that's actually well thought through.
So are you like doing the combining of items like you are in the old school point and click adventure games where you have one item in your inventory, you have another item, and you have to figure out which one's combined together to do the thing that you want it to do?
Yeah,
is it that old school?
It goes well. You have an inventory where your items are. Mostly the puzzles in the beginning were using items or giving something to someone. For instance, there was this moment where Jesus has to go into town, but there are several hares, as in rabbits, HARES, hares, blocking the way.
Sure.
And he's like, I hate these. I can't stand these creatures. I'm afraid of them, but I have to get past them, but I can't touch them. So what he does, he has found a carrot somewhere, and he's like, well, I am allergic to carrots. So he eats the carrots, and he starts to fart, and the noise scares the rabbits off, and now he can pass.
There's a farting Jesus.
Yeah.
In this game.
There's a farting Jesus in this game. So that was actually, I found it pretty, that was a funny joke. So he's not afraid.
Wow.
He's not afraid to use. He's not over. He's respectful, but not overly respectful, right? Which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there were a few moments that I did not like. I have to mention it, even though this is in general a nice game with charming graphics, and actually the music was pretty good. Music, I think. Felt, I don't know if it was time appropriate, but it felt time appropriate. There was a lot of research done, and it was actually some historic things in there that I found very interesting. Like I was walking into a music store, there were some musical instruments where it was explained what the musical instrument was used for and what kind of ritual. So that was actually pretty interesting. But there were also 2 instances that I did not find amusing. Because there was one point where Jesus has a conversation with a person, and I obviously don't know the entire conversation by heart, but it comes down to Jesus quoting Leviticus, the infamous line from the Old Testament of Leviticus that is used to justify homophobia, as in, a man shall not lie with another man, blah, blah, which I find absolutely ridiculous. Now, he gives it to that, he says it in a serious way. It's not with a wink, it's not used to show the ridiculousness of that side of religion. It is actually literally from the Bible said to another person who also takes it serious. And like, that does not sit well with me. And then later on, there was another gay joke which I thought it was too bad. It was a missed opportunity for me, because I thought when you do it like this, and the writing was pretty good so far, you could have used Jesus to show how wrong this kind of thinking is. After all, a bit before that, Jesus has a conversation with a prostitute, and he's like, I am not going to judge you. The Jesus you would expect from religion, from Christianity, as it was, I think, supposed to be. Jesus is someone who is supposed to love everyone. He sits with beggars and lepers and prostitutes, and he loves everyone equally because he sees the good in everyone. So it was. I found it disappointing that was brought in the way it was brought. So that actually turned me off on that. Now we reached out to the creator, and he assured us that he is absolutely himself not against gay people, and I believe him in that. I absolutely believe him in that. He said he wanted to show the other side of religion. Okay, I just thought that the way he chose to do that was a missed opportunity. So that
gotcha. And he does seem like a genuinely nice guy. I've chatted with him a little bit over email as well too, and he seems very passionate about what he's put together here. I'm curious if how much controversy is being stirred up with this game, outside of you, because I hadn't even heard of it until you brought it up to me, and then Amir emailed me about it. So,
I think
very interesting.
I think I don't think it will stir up a lot of controversy. I think people who can see past this will, especially people who are into religion, who would love to play basically the Bible, the point-and-click adventure game. I think they will get a lot out of it. If you can look past this, you can find a charming game, but it was simply not the game for me.
Gotcha. Again, that is The Secrets of Jesus from Amir Matuk, and thank you so much for letting Thomas check that one out. We do appreciate it. Thomas, and thank you for stopping by to talk to us about these two games. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, you're most welcome, Scott. It's always nice to talk to you, and I hope your Packers are doing well.
Yes, they are. You can hear me talk about it on the Packers Fan Podcast, my other podcast.
Might have to listen in that sometime.
I appreciate it, man. You have a good one, all right?
Yeah, you can listen to me talk more about adventure games on the Adventure Game Podcast with my co-hosts Saoirse and Laura. So if you want to know more about narrative-driven games and adventure games, then please check that podcast out.
Fantastic, man. I appreciate it. You have a good one, all right?
You too, man. Bye-bye.
Bye. Alyssa White, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for stopping by to talk to us about Tokyo Dark Remembrance, which you're playing for us. I'm excited to hear about it because I know absolutely nothing about this game. This is a remaster, correct?
It is. It originally came out on PC, I believe, only.
All right. And you're playing it on the Switch.
Yes.
And this one comes from the developer Cherry Mochi. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And we got to say thank you to Stride PR for providing you with a review copy to play this one as well. So for those that have never heard of this series like me, what exactly is this game? What kind of game is it?
This is a visual novel type of game. There are some point-and-click adventure elements, but this is a very horror-centric game, and there are definitely some excellently executed jump scares. Just the whole story is full of tension and dread, and you never know what's going to happen, and it just had me captivated. So if you love a good visual novel or just a good story in general, this one should be right up your alley.
Perfect. What kind of story is it? What is the story?
So you play as Detective Ito, and 6 months prior to when the game began, a tragedy falls upon her and her coworker, and then 6 months later, something resurfaces that shouldn't happen, and she has to decipher how this is happening and what's going on, and things take a supernatural turn. That's all I'm going to reveal because I don't want to spoil the story.
Gotcha. So how do you say visual novel? Are you selecting dialogue choices? Are you moving a character, or is it just straight up dialogue the entire time?
You do move the character some, but when you're talking to other characters, you're selecting dialogue choices or actions, and then you read what they say and what you're thinking you read. So it's just, there's a lot of reading going on. Okay.
Is it a short game, or how long is this one?
It took me about 3 hours. I'm a pretty quick reader. I think most people it takes between 3 to 5 hours. But there are multiple endings, so you can replay the game and do different things and see how that affects your outcome.
All right. How satisfying was the story by the end?
I really liked my ending, and I thought it was a good way to wrap it up. I am intrigued to see other endings as well.
Very cool. And is this one you'd recommend people to check out, or no?
Definitely, if you're into visual novels, if you're looking for a good horror game, definitely check it out. But I think even if you're not a huge visual novel fan, the adventure elements also make it intriguing because you get to go to different towns in Japan, meet eccentric characters, and you do some light puzzling. Nothing that's going to make you pull your hair out, but it adds a little flavor to the whole spooky vibe. So you kind of get a
Gotcha.
little break from that.
I like the art style. It looks very
It's
Japanese animation.
beautiful. Especially the cutscenes. It looks like you're watching an anime. It's gorgeous.
Very cool. And I'm not used to seeing the horror elements in Japanese animation. Most of the stuff that I've watched is not supernatural, but people with superhuman abilities. But I like the supernatural horror aspect, and I might want to check it out.
Yeah, I love that. It kind of reminded me of the author Junji Ito. The art style, it's great.
Very cool. Well, Alyssa, thank you so much for stopping by to talk to us about Tokyo Dark Remembrance. Where can everybody follow you and your doings on the internet?
I have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/AlyssaWhite88. And I have a blog, alleycatgeekery.com. That's ALYCATGEEKERY.com. And you can follow me on Twitter at Lissarie, LISSARIE.
Awesome. Thanks so much for stopping by, Alyssa.
Thank you for having me.
Catch you later.
See you later.
Thanks so much to Thomas and Alyssa for those reviews. Really appreciate it. But that is going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Zach, before we head out, any parting words or recommendations for the listeners?
Only that Scott Clark really got in my head. Thanks for that. Maybe overthink this topic.
Hey, that's good. I thought you were going to say a negative thing about it.
Oh, no, is it? Yeah. No, but I stand by this list thing. It made me overthink, but Jedi Fallen Order is the game of the decade. Let me just say that. I stand by that. Game of the century, game of the millennium.
So you're changing it now? Is
Love
that
it to
what you're saying?
death. Yeah, absolutely. This was going with my head. I'm going with my heart, okay? So all that stuff I said earlier, throw it out the window. Jedi Fallen Order. Love my life.
All right, fair enough. CB, what about you?
Nothing, just really good to be back home, man. Kind of fed up with Disney right now, so.
You're fed up with Disney? Too much Star Wars?
Oh my God. For those of you who don't know, I went on vacation. I was down in Florida. I have a GPS tracker that tracks how much I've walked in a day. In 4 days of Disney, I walked 62.5 miles.
Holy cow, man.
Wow,
yeah.
That's a whole lot of Millennium Falcon that you're trekking across.
It looks so pretty.
They have that at the Galaxy's Edge too?
Yeah.
You got to send me more pictures. I think Scott got more pictures than me. That's not cool.
Yeah. I got to fly the Falcon, man.
It's out of control.
It was really good.
I hate you.
Really
It's not even.
experience.
They
have envious.
They have
I'm just jealous.
They actually do have the metal toggle to pull back to go to light speed.
You got a lightsaber,
Mm-hmm. And a holocron.
dick.
And an R2 unit.
This guy. Get out of here.
It was really good.
Someday, Zach, we'll go. Someday we'll go.
Me and Scott are going to go, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to go. We're not going to invite you.
Hey, guess what?
That's right.
I did it first.
Well, we did it better, all right?
Oh,
I hit 200,000 first.
Whatever.
This is the guy who was chasing me like crazy to get there before I did. Well, I'm going to make a recommendation as well. I actually started watching the series on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us?
Are you going to talk about the movies that made us?
The movies that made us. There is an episode I'm watching right now on Home Alone that is fascinating. Oh my goodness. Did you know that almost that entire movie was filmed in a high school gymnasium?
Yeah.
Or a elementary school gymnasium? I had no clue.
The same gymnasium that John Hughes used for every other movie that he did?
Right. Yeah. But they built a house inside the gymnasium to film that movie, which just kind of blew my mind.
I actually watched all 4 episodes of it, including the world's greatest Christmas movie.
Die Hard?
Yes.
I mean, I prefer Lethal Weapon, but I respect your choice.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Please be sure to email us. If you have any questions or concerns, our address is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Also, be sure to check out my other podcast, the Packers Fan Podcast, which can be found in the same place you'll listen to this fine show. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Chris Behrensmeyer, and we are The Gaming Outsider. Remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.